Welcome back. This week we're going to go with a Mahogany Dun. These are in the ISO family. Probably one of the least known patterns, throughout the fishing community. Yeah, I mean, certain spots, I mean, they're really big. People really tie them and focus on them a lot. Certain rivers, the Blackfoot, I was on it 2 falls ago, and there was a hatch that came off. I think it was mid-September, and there was a pool that I typically fish a ton. Mainly with streamers, and maybe pick 1 or 2 fish up there. But man, that pool just blew up. I mean, I think every fish in the system was focusing on these mahoganies as they were coming down. Luckily, I mean, I had the dry fly stick up there, and so I went up. It was just right up the river, and went up and got the dry fly stick and stuck a few fish, came back, and went back to the streamer thing. But I was able to catch a couple of them, the flies that is, and match them up pretty well. I mean, it was the first time really running into that thick of a hatch, and the first time really that I had a reason to look at them in depth and try and figure something out. But oh, excuse me. You can do these 100, or the body you can do with just a stripped peacock, like the Slate Drake, like the Quill Gordon, whatever it may be. I'm going to mix some stuff up today. This is pretty accurate to what I saw on the river. I'm going to take 3 colors of SuperFine. This is a brown, a black, and a March brown. And I'm just going to mix these together, kind of come up with something, because there's really no consistency to the body. It's not like it's like a green drake, to where it's just a straight pale white color to it, or a sulfur, to where it's just PMD, just that pale orange, pale yellow. There's a big mix in this body. So I'm going to kind of mix these 3 together today and do something with that. Like I said, I mean, if I were tying a pile of these, would I take the time to mix the colors together? No, not at all. I would just go through, I would do the strip peacock curls and wrap them up that way. A little bit of glue on them, call it good. But we'll go ahead in and do this one from what I saw on the river. We'll get zoomed in there, and that looks pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty clean. It'll be a little bit fuzzy to start because I'm going on a tan shirt here, but it'll come into focus once we start putting some color to this. So I'm just going to lay a thread base down. As always, on my dry flies, I'm using the Gel Spun 50. And for our wings, which we'll get to here in a second, we're going to go with the Snowshoe Rabbit. If you've watched any of my dry fly videos, you know that I love this Snowshoe Rabbit. I tie with this stuff almost exclusively for wings. Almost. There are some patterns that I use something a little bit different, but anything that has like a dun colored wing to it, Snowshoe Rabbit's my go-to. So I'm going to take, I don't know, I didn't like that. I'm just going to pluck a fiber out of here. We'll go with that. This is just a dun neck, and I'm going to peel all of this off, get this out of the way, and then I'm going to take probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 strands. I'm going to stand this off to the side, make sure that I'm in the focus there, and I'm going to peel those off so they're nice and even. I'm going to measure these out. I'm going to wet my finger there a little bit because that one wanted to be a little unruly. And I'm going to measure these out the length of the hook, slightly longer if anything, and I'm going to go ahead and tie in these fibers. That's going to be my tail. And then, let's see how that's coming out in the camera. Yeah, tan probably wasn't the best shirt color to wear, but that's alright, we'll be fine here. Once we start getting some colors mixed in, it'll be a good contrast. So, next up, I'm going to take just a little bit of this Snowshoe Rabbit. These are medium done. These things, like I said, I swear by these. They have a nice natural buoyancy to them. Probably one of the better patterns, or one of the better wing materials that I've found. And I really just like the way that they look and float, so I use them quite extensively. So I'm just going to peel a little bit of that out of there, cut that, and then I'm going to turn them around to where I have the fuzzier portion, or the, I caught a little tag on my thumb there. I'm going to have to get rid of that. There we go. So I just have this portion that has, you know, the hide section, if you will, is going to be the one that I'm going to use for my upright and divided portion. And you can do these typically when I do them. Typically when I do dry flies, I like the parachute style a little bit more, but we're going to do these traditional today. And I'm going to cut all of this stuff off. Get out of there. Neighbor's dog's getting all worked up over there. And I'm going to form my taper, which is causing Knox to get worked up. Luckily Cam's too young to get too worked up about anything. She sleeps and pisses. That's about all she does these days. That's alright by me. That's a little sparse. I don't really like it too much. No, I don't like it. We're gonna... no, I'm gonna back it off. I don't like it. I'm gonna back it off. Tying on a size 12. I do these basically 12 to 16. 14 probably being the most popular, or the most prevalent, I should say. But I just didn't like how that was turning out, so I'm going to stop and go back to the start here. Back to the start with the wing case. That's alright. If you watch most of my videos, you know that they tend to be a little bit lengthy, so me taking an extra minute to make the wings right really isn't going to deter folks too much. Grab another chunk here. This is a little bit more thick. That looks a lot better. I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up. Get rid of some of the excess fibers here. Some of that stuff is just going to create a lot of bulk at my tie-in point. It's a really fine line with this stuff though, because if you go getting rid of too much, you lose the bulk that you want in your wings. If you have too much material, then it's too bulky on your body. So I guess that's the one downfall of working with this. But it compresses pretty nice down at the tip end at your tie-in point. So I'm not being a very convincing salesman here for this Snowshoe Rabbit, as it turns out. That's alright, that's more for me to buy. Alright, I'm not going to upright and divide these at this point. I'm just going to leave them how they sit. Trim up this little bit of excess, and then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of anything extra that's sitting in there. Before I do that, I'm going to stand this up, make sure I have plenty of room in front of my wing case to work with, to where I can get a decent amount of wraps. If anything, start this further back. Don't work it too close to the eye. You can always go back over top of this and get 1 or 2 wraps in front and shorten that up. You can't move it the other direction unless you want to do like I did in the video, you know, move stuff back. So just takes you a little bit longer. Alright, I can see one or two that are going to be trouble right out of the gate. Just go ahead and get rid of them. Alright, so the next up on this, I'm going to zoom out slightly. There we go. I swear the multi-angle's coming up here eventually. It's just taking me a little while to get where I want. Taking me a little while to get to it. So I'm going to take a 2-part March brown, 1 part straight brown, and just the absolute slightest amount of black. You probably can't even see it right there. And I'm going to mix these 3 together. Just pull these through. And it's going to mix this up. It's going to have that nice little, it's not quite a mahogany look, but it matched the naturals as close as I could get with the materials that I had. I'm sure if I searched through the fly shops and everything that I would be able to find something a little bit better than the March brown that I'm using here. But the biggest thing that I'm looking for is just some color breakup, some color transition within that body. And I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be like the natural, to where it just, it's kind of random. I mean, there is a pattern to it, but with this stuff, it kind of, with the mix that I have right here, it kind of mimics it pretty well overall. And it might be a little bit bulky. The only problem that I have when I mix these colors together on the dry fly material on the SuperFine, it gets a little bit sticky, so use as little as possible, because sometimes it can wind up being just a little bit more than I actually like for the body. But I think this one's going to work out pretty well here. There we go. We got a nice clean taper leading right up. You can see that what we have right there is just a nice overall taper. Everything looks pretty clean to this point. We have that nice little color breakup and everything. It's not one defined color, and especially once it gets wet, it kind of blends together a little bit, so it looks pretty good. And it's a little heavy, but we'll take it. Next that I'm going to use on this is just Whiting 100 pack. If I can get it into focus there we go. And this is light dyed Dun in a size 14. It's a little bit bigger. I don't know. Probably could go with a 16, but we're going to use this 14 here. It should be right about where we want it on a size 12 hook. I'm just going to secure this on the back end, capture my tag, capture my tag on the front end, and stand this up. There we go. Everything looks pretty clean to this point. And then I'm going to take one wrap around on my Snowshoe, just to capture any of those fibers that are going to be sticking off to the side. And then I'm going to divide these sections right here. I'm just going to divide the wing case, or the wings, stand them off to the side. Wipe my fingers here because I got fibers going everywhere. And then we're just going to figure eight right through this wing case. to where I feel I have my wings how I want them. There we go. Kind of splays them out. They're all nice and neat. Everything's looking pretty clean right there. And I'm just going to once again wet my fingers. At this point, take any of these fibers that are going all over the place and get rid of them. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take the remainder, and I always preach this when you're doing your dry flies, you have to dub through the wings. It just makes so much of a cleaner appearance, and then it fills the body out. And it covers up any of this white if you're using the gel spun or whatever color of thread that you're using. It just fills this out. Now if I turn this on the underside, you can see that's pretty nice and clean right there. There's one little section, but the hackles are going to cover this up. And another thing that this does is when you dub in front of this, there's not that drastic drop off from the front of your wings down to the rest of your hook, and it's not going to cause a lopsided look to your hackle. So now we're just going to take the hackle and we're going to work probably 3 to 4 turns on the back side. I'm going to stand these wings up and come right in front of them, and I'm going to give it about 4 to 5 on the front side. We'll go ahead and tie that off and then trim. Go ahead and whip finish this. We still have a nice clean eye. Everything's good. Got a nice clean taper leading up to the wings. I've got some stuff to get rid of here. Knoxville's got the neighborhood to bark at. And then I'll just take a tan marker here. I'll touch up any of that little bit of extra that I have of white that's bleeding through where I tied everything off. And then we'll rotate this around and you can see that we have a nice clean dry fly for a Mahogany Dun imitation. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's nothing out of the norm as far as dry flies go. Come on. Technical difficulties here. We made it. Ready to get rid of this system and upgrade. But all in time. Like I said, nothing really different as far as dry flies go, but it shows you how I do the mahoganies that I tie and fish. As always, if there's questions, comments, leave them with me and I'll get back to you. But thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week.